So we all know that to be a great manager, it involves asking a lot of questions. We call it coaching, and that's in another video. But this one is all about your questions to silence ratio. So I could make something up right now and tell you that you should have 5 questions to every 1 minute of silence, but I won't do that. So what I want you to do is just have lots of questions and lots of silence. How about that? Not very scientific, but that's your ratio. Lots of this, lots of that. So let's start with questions first. So questions are best when they're open-ended, but they're not very good when they're not very good when they're not followed by an ample amount of silence. So this is what I find that a lot of managers do, and I even do it myself, is they'll ask a question like this. Hey team, what do you think about the pricing on our new payroll service? Because what I've found is that there's other places that do it for cheaper, and you know what, I'm not super satisfied with the company that's running it, and don't you think we could do it in-house? And that's their question. That's not a question. That person started with a question, but then they just finished it with telling everybody what they thought. So that's more of a statement. So what we like to do is follow that question with lots of silence. Hey team, what do you think about our payroll service? And it feels odd to leave that little seconds of silence. And this is what I figured out as to why it's so uncomfortable for leaders and managers to just leave some silence for thinking. I think it's because we have earned our way to the top because we're just really good at talking. So most of us haven't made it here because we have been silent. We've made it here because we're really good at talking. So what I'm going to suggest is that you're going to build a new skill of silence to get you even farther down the road and get even more out of your people. So let's start with some suggestions for questions. We know that we love to ask open-ended questions, and I've prepared a few of my favorites and favorites of my clients as well. The first one here is, what's on your mind? The reason this question works really well is because it's non-judgmental. So socially, when we see somebody who's down or gloomy, or they run into the office and they throw their purse down and they slam the door, if we enter that danger at all, which I'd like you to enter that danger, you walk in and you look at that person and you say, what's wrong? And so immediately you're judging that there is something wrong, not right. But what's on your mind can go either way. It's non-judgmental. And of course, it's very open-ended. Here's an extra hint or a bonus. Use this with your friends when they call you and they just want to shoot the breeze. Just say, oh, hey, Kelly, what's on your mind? It gets right to the heart of their issue, and you have a 10-minute phone call instead of a half an hour phone call. So what's on your mind? Gets right to the heart of the issue. Second question is, what else? Or its little brother statement, tell me more. A lot of times when you'll say what's on your mind, somebody will say, oh, I'm just so frustrated because the payroll service isn't working, everything is down, and you'll say, what else? Well, really, it's Joe's responsibility to run that, and I can't find him anywhere. Ah, okay. So we're getting to the true issue. Might not be the payroll service, might be the person running it. Just a quick example there. But what else? Or tell me more. You're always, when you're coaching, you're looking for the problem behind the problem, or the issue under the issue. Pairing those two questions together really works wonders, and you don't have to put any thought into it at all. You're just asking the questions. Jumping over here to one of our silence skills, you're going to ask yourself to wait. And wait stands for, why am I talking? It's not your job to talk in some scenarios as a manager. Ask these questions and then wait. Wait. These two questions right here are gold. I love them. They come from the book, The Coaching Habit by Michael Bungay Stanier. Highly recommend that book. He has 5 other questions that are also brilliant. They just didn't make my top 5 list. All right, the third one here is, what does done look like? Now, the reason this question works is because it takes your direct report's mind and it throws it into the future. a lot of people that are working for us really can only see about 2 weeks to 4 weeks into the future. It's our job as leaders and managers, especially leaders, creating clear direction, to see farther, and we're training people to see farther into the future. So when they come to you with an idea or a project, rocks, scorecard numbers, you ask them, what does done look like? Throws their mind into the future so that they can describe what they really want the finished product to look like. The other thing that this really does for you is it allows everybody to come to an agreement on if we want the project or the idea or the task to be finished or if we need it to be perfect. And there's certain situations for both. But what I find a lot of miscommunication happening in leadership teams and companies is we don't come to an agreement on if we just need something to hit a milestone or a first draft, or if it really needs to be a finished product ready to go out to the client. So that's why that one works. Next question is, what do you recommend? The reason this question works is because it puts the power and the onus and the authority and the accountability back on the person for eventually making a decision around the problem or issue that they're coming to you with. What do you recommend? It's one of my favorite questions to really coach up leadership teams when they have been in a situation where, when faced with a problem, they all look to the owner and say, what are we going to do? And so I will look back into their eyes. If it's a sales issue, I look at the sales gal and say, what do you recommend? This is your space on the accountability chart. Gets people to really start owning their role. And then, of course, the fifth question, it's classic, ask why. Somebody comes to you with an idea, an obstacle, why? Why are we having this problem? Why is that the best solution? Why? Gets people, the reason why works, it gets people to slow down and think about the true purpose. So there's 5 questions, and there's 120 others. You can make up some of your own, of course, but those are 5 that I always like to have managers keeping in their back pocket. All right, rounding this out then, I want to give you a few more skills that can help you train people in your company to really embrace silence. When I start my sessions, we always start with 5 quiet minutes for everybody to just download and think about a few questions that I've asked them. Sometimes this is the most valuable part of the day because rarely do people have a chance to have a conversation with themselves. We're so busy, blah, 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 all kinds of input, data coming in, information everywhere. Just take a deep breath. Sit in silence a little bit. The tool is called, and you can enter your own number, but I'm going to call it the 5 quiet minutes. If your team is rushed, if your team is having a hard time being creative, if your team is feeling chaotic, take 5 minutes, take 2 minutes, take 10 minutes. You're the boss, literally, you're the boss, and say, let's all take 5 quiet minutes. Ensure that there's quiet. Don't let people start chit-chatting because they want to do that to fill the silence. And just say, no, quiet minutes, and download your thoughts onto paper. When we think something, then write it down, then share it with people. That's the beginning of the learning cycle. So use 5 quiet minutes of silence and quiet. And then finally, our tried and true clarity breaks. This is where you can have personal silence. This is why clarity breaks work, is because we just sit in silence for a period of time and we gain some clarity and focus on our company. You can suggest that your people take clarity breaks as well. So there's some good suggestions for how to use that questions to silence ratio, lots to lots, and we'll see if that can get you some great accountability in your company.